Today is Monday, December 28th, 2020. Coming up on Roland Unfiltered, broadcast live from Atlanta, Georgia. We are in the stretch run. It is 8 days until Election Day. We were here on the ground today covering Pastor Warnock and John Ossoff. We'll show you and hear from them from the rally they held at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. We'll have that for you, plus my interview with the pastor of New Birth, Pastor Jamal Bryant. Donald Trump finally signs the bill for COVID relief, a $900 billion bill. But what about the whole issue still of $2,000 going to families? Republicans have rejected that. Trump says he wants it to happen. Democrats have said, we've been wanting this thing to happen. Folks, COVID-19 is still on our minds in D.C. The council has passed a bill that allows children to get vaccines without parental consent. A Prince William County, Virginia sheriff fired a deputy for his disturbing comments on social media. Also, a 71-year-old South Carolina man is suing the police there for detaining him while he was naked. In Columbus, Ohio, the police officer who killed a black man last week, he has been fired. Plus, the first black college president is being honored with a bust in Vermont. And today's crazy-ass white woman falsely accuses a black teen of stealing her iPhone. Wait until you see this video that has gone viral. We'll also be talking with the father of that young man. It is a jam-packed show, and it is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time, and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Folks, we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia, where we have been spending the last several weeks focused on the Georgia Senate runoff. Huge implications when it comes to these two seats. John Ossoff, Pastor Warnock, they are running against Senator David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, both Republican incumbents. If they win, of course, Democrats will control the United States Senate, and Vice President Kamala Harris will break all tie votes. There were two events today. Today, Pastor Warnock, he spoke in Gwinnett County. We live streamed that particular event. Of course, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock both held a concert and rally, a get out vote rally at New Birth Missionary Baptist Church in DeKalb County. We're going to hear a little bit later from Pastor Jamal Bryant. A lot of things have been happening going on here in Georgia. The folks at Black Voters Matter, they have been going to council meetings. They've been going to court, battling efforts to frankly strike black folks from voting. They successfully fought Republicans who wanted to somehow dismiss 3,000 votes in Albany, Georgia, significant black population. In fact, I will be there tomorrow keynoting a Get Out the Vote rally taking place in Albany. And so in just a second, I'm going to be hearing from Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, to give us an update on exactly what they have been able to do to fight back efforts to suppress black votes. Folks, everyone understands the nation's eyes are all on Georgia, these two critical races. And so that's why you see so much effort. Millions and millions of dollars are pouring into this state. Folks are raising money left and right, funding efforts on the ground. I've been talking to folks with the DNC, with third-party groups who've been out there. As I mentioned, Black Voters Matter, they have been really focused on what's been happening out there in rural areas. The Black Church Political Action Committee, same thing. They have been focused out there as well. Jamal Bryant, when you hear from him, he's involved with them. He told them, y'all completely ignore Atlanta. Go out to rural Georgia in order to get those black folks energized and get them to vote. Here's the deal. Early voting ends this Thursday here in Georgia. Some counties, it ends on the 30th. Others on December 31st. But the Ossoff and Warnock campaigns, they desperately want to get as many people locked in to vote early as opposed to January 5th, which is Election Day. Let's now go to Cliff Albright, the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. As I said, they've been on the ground galvanizing folks, but also challenging Republican efforts to stop black folks from voting. Cliff, y'all have some good news about the latest effort where y'all beat back the oppressors.
Yeah, Roland, thanks for having me. Yeah, basically today there were challenges in 2 counties down in Albany, Dougherty County, and also in Newton County, which is in South Metro Atlanta, heavily black county. All of these counties were.
Looks like we have lost Cliff Albright's signal. So let's do here, folks. Let's get Cliff back on the phone. Let's ignore the video. Let's at least get him on the phone with the audio, so we at least have clear audio there. As I said, folks, they've been battling efforts. Also, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, other groups have been challenging as many efforts as possible by Republicans to shave the margins here. Folks understand how important the black vote is. Blacks have been turning out in Georgia in a significant way, going to the polls, voting early. They are outpacing black turnout from November 3rd general election. That's how critical black turnout is. And so young votes as well. Some 76,000 people who did not vote November 3rd, they actually registered to vote in this runoff. Republicans have been trying to get those folks, those ballots, not to be counted. I mean, literally, Senator David Perdue even said they wanted to isolate those voters. Looks like we have Cliff Albright back with Black Voters Matter. Cliff, go right ahead.
About that, Roland, as you can probably tell, we are actually on the Black Voters Matter bus right now, the Blackest Bus in America right now. And so please excuse me for the reception. But yeah, I was saying that in 2 counties today, 2 counties where we do our work and where we have local partners, there was an effort, the same effort that's been going on in county after county, where they're trying to challenge voters on their addresses. County, which is where Albany is, as well as in Newton County, which is in South Metro Atlanta area. In both of those counties, those efforts, they had emergency hearings today at their county courthouses. In both of those counties, those efforts were defeated. In the case of Dougherty County, it was defeated 3-1. In the case of Newton County, it was actually defeated 2-1, which actually raised, part of the story that's going on here, while there's something to celebrate in the fact that as they keep doing this in county after county, where they're challenging these voters, part of the story is that they're losing and those efforts are being defeated. But the other part of the story is this. In a lot of these votes by these Board of Elections, it's close. It's 2-1, right? In most cases. Sometimes it's 3-1. There may have been a couple where it was unanimous. But what it's showing is that there are folks at this local level who, even though this complaint and this voter suppression is frivolous and dangerous, you have some local officials that if they had their way, they would let them go forward with it. They would go forward with challenging these voters in spite of the fact that we are now just 1 week away from a federal election. So showing that these efforts are not, this is now part of the battles are now on the table. And that's something that's a dangerous trend as we move forward.
And that's a great point, Cliff. And it also explains to people, again, why local control matters. We can focus on Washington, D.C., we can focus on the state, but you cannot ignore the county level because that's really where elections are being controlled.
No, exactly right. And that's been something that I think within progressive circles that we've overlooked, especially in the South. We've overlooked a lot of these levers of local power, these Board of Elections, these county commissions, school boards, some of these other boards, these authority boards, these utility boards, right? Those are all places where we can get local power over some real issues that control our lives. And we set the bench for all these others up, because that's the bench that then decides who's going to be in the state legislature, who's going to be in Congress, who's going to be Senate, right? All the way on up. But when we ignore that local power, it creates a very dangerous situation. But I think in Georgia that there's a lot of folks, a lot of organizations that have learned that lesson, and we're doing the work of building that power. And that's part of how we're being able to set back these voter suppression efforts. They can keep trying in all 159 counties if they want. It hasn't worked so far. It's not going to work. They can't stop the kind of turn that's taking place in the state right now.
All right, Cliff Albright on the Blackest Bus Tour for Black Voters Matter. We certainly appreciate it, man. Y'all doing a great work. And again, we certainly congratulate y'all on what you're doing. And so let's keep the pressure, keep it going.
Thank you, Roland.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, as I said, two big rallies held today. Pastor Raphael Warnock was in Gwinnett County speaking there. We covered that event, but we also were at North Missionary Baptist Church in DeKalb, where they had a concert and get out rally. Both John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock both spoke there. Here is some of that particular rally.
We wind up with David and Kelly. Hey, say it with me now. Say vote. Say vote. See, we deserve better, DeKalb County, than two United States senators who saw a pandemic as a chance to enrich themselves but have blocked relief for the people they represent for 8 months. We deserve better, DeKalb County. We will not forget that Senator David Perdue, the same man who called his broker to buy medical and vaccine stock when he found out what was coming, opposed even the first round of $1,200 checks for his own constituents. David Perdue does not care about us. David Perdue does not care about us. And $600 is a joke, DeKalb County. You send me and Reverend Warnock to the U.S. Senate, we will put money in your pocket because the gas bill is due, the rent's overdue, the credit cards are maxed out. We are hurting through no fault of their own, and you deserve better. DeKalb County, say it with me now. Say vote. Say vote. See, the ballot box is where we hold those who represent us accountable. The ballot box is where we exercise our power as a people. And right now, Georgia has the power to make history. DeKalb County has the power to make history. Feel that power, DeKalb County. With 9 days to go, 8 days to go. Because this is about where we go next as a people. We have better and bigger things to discuss than David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. We have the power to write the next chapter in American history, DeKalb County, because Donald Trump is leaving. Donald Trump is leaving, and Georgia voters sent Donald Trump packing. You did that. Feel your power, DeKalb County.
And as a black teenager growing up in the 1950s, she grew up picking somebody else's tobacco, somebody else's cotton. But because we live in America, because we are busy and engaged in the work of being a more perfect union. Last week, the 82-year-old hands that used to pick somebody else's cotton was able to pick her youngest son to be a United States Senator from the great state of Georgia. Only in America is my story even possible. And so I'm honored in this moment. And I'm focused on the work that we must do together. Because there are folk who are engaged in division, in the politics of division and distraction. Folks who have no vision engage in division. They do not know how to lead us, and so they try to divide us. And it's our job right now to stand up and reclaim our belief in the American promise, e pluribus unum, out of many, one. We are one Georgia. We are one America. We are one people. And come January 5th, the people of Georgia are coming to get their seats back. Are you ready to win this election? We got work to do. And I'm ready to work. Are you ready to work? My parents instilled in me the values of compassion, and hard work. Told you my mom grew up picking cotton in Waycross, Georgia. My dad was a veteran. Let's hear it for all of our veterans. Come on, let's hear it for the folk who stand up for us, who do the hard work. But we've got to do more than cheer for our veterans. We've got to make sure that when they come back home, we act like we remember what they did when they were away. They shouldn't have to fight and just to get health care. They should not have to wait weeks and months just to get an appointment at the VA. We got to stand up for our veterans. Let's hear for them one more time. My dad was a veteran and a preacher and a small businessman. He preached at a small church on Gwinnett Street in Savannah on Sundays. But he spent most of his days picking up old junk cars and loading them on the back of a rig and taking them to Chatham Steel. And that's how he took care of his family, picking up old junk cars and old scrap metal that other folk had thrown away. And then on Sunday morning, the junk man became the preacher man, and he preached to folk who themselves felt thrown away. And he reminded them that our God is a junk man who goes around picking up all the other folk that other folk have thrown away. Because God sees our value. And that's the gospel that he preached. It's the gospel that my friend and classmate from Morehouse College, Jamal Bryant, preaches from church. Here for Reverend Bryant. That's the work we must do together.
Speaking of Pastor Jamal Bryant, I got a chance to talk with him after today's rally about how important these two races are in Georgia. All right, Pastor Jamal Bryant, this is probably, out of all the rallies we covered, probably one of the largest rallies here. How critical is this county going to be for John Ossoff and Ralph Warnock?
It is so critical, and all the DeKalb County is the most overlooked county. Most people focus on Fulton, but DeKalb County is growing and mushrooming because our young adult population. And there's a whole lot of young people who have shown up in this place more than a whole lot of other rallies.
One of the things that we do know is that about 6,000 folks who did not vote November 3rd registered voting in this runoff. Half of them are people of color.
Yes, it's so critical. Atlanta erupted in May after the killing of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, and many of the old guard didn't think young people would go to the poll, but they showed up in record numbers on November 3rd, and now they're believing that they're going to show up now. 1 million have already participated in early voting.
It's going to be a turnout deal. You can run ads all day you want to, but this is also on the ground. And so, folks who you're with, Divine and others, yes, talk about what that ground game has been like.
We still doing it the old-fashioned way. People are going door to door. People are still going to barbershops. What you've seen in Atlanta, nothing is closed. So we're going in the community, in the malls, in restaurants, because that high has got to match the high touch.
One of the that also we're looking at, folks are going to be key. They're going to be critical in this election. They're moving at a higher rate, but what I keep hearing is also the rules of Georgia. Albany, Columbus, yes, Macon, Savannah, also driving the numbers there.
I'm a part of the Black Church PAC, in which I've told them spend no time in Atlanta. It is the rural areas that need to support mobilizing those pastors. So we're in places like Noonan, Georgia, Macon, Georgia, and Warner Robins, Georgia, because those are those areas, little numbers will make a big impact.
What has been the response with the Black Church PAC? I've seen their bus, they've been, yes, traveling around. How has that been going?
It's giving the church to come outside of the stained glass and come in the street corners. It's forcing the church to be its authentic, historic self. And so it's a good time for the church.
And obviously in this COVID world, what's also happening is that the church also, look, you don't have all of them congregating,
yes,
so they had no choice but to be digital. So they're going to really do the outreach to people out voting.
The irony is that you've got a black pastor running for Senate. which demands that the black church can't be on the sidelines. It's got to be on the front line. You've interviewed me many times about the role of the black church, and now the black church has no option but to know you can't be a spectator. You've got to be a participant.
All right, then. Pastor Brown, we appreciate it. Do this. All right, folks, let's go to our panel. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, she's a political analyst. Mustafa Santiago Ali, of course, PhD, also former senior advisor for Justice EPA. Dr. Julian Malvo, economist, president with Bennett College. Start with you, Julian. Ground game. 8 days until Election Day. 3 more days of early vote here in Georgia, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This really is going to be about that point Pastor Jamal Bryant just made. I know these folks today, these Democrats, these political analysts, they love focusing on phone calls and text messages, digital ads, things along those lines. But the reality is, you've got to connect with people, go where they are, go into those places, get them to go out, because this, when you say every vote matters, this election could very well come down to 2, 5, 10, 15, 20,000 votes, considering Joe Biden won this state by less than 12,000 votes.
Absolutely, Roland. This is 1% of the vote. And I expect if it is 1% of the vote, they'll recount. But the fact is that black folks have boots on the ground. You have Melanie Campbell, National Coal Black Civic Participation. You have LaTosha Brown. You have Felicia Davis. You have black women and men, but I'm plugged into the sisters, who are literally turning it out. They're working 24/7. They're knocking on doors. As many people said, this high-tech thing, I don't mean to be the old fogey. High-tech works, kind of. But the connection works a whole lot better than sending somebody an email. So if I knock on your door, as I go to your church, and we can't do that anymore with COVID, but if I knock on your door, if I meet you on a corner, you've made a connection. And we've seen people make connections, and that you see the turn high. Because typically, as James Clyburn has written in the Washington Post, basically, runoff disfavor black people. But if we mobilize black people, we will turn out. And fingers crossed, we're hoping that they will turn out. The rally that you were at with Brother Jamal Bryant, amazing. The 2 candidates, amazing. The commercials that they put out, amazing. I especially like the one with the dog and the beagle. But amazing, making their point. And meanwhile, little Miss Barbie lookalike, and the guy who won't debate, but I forget their names. But in any case, those 2 are basically hiding behind their privilege. So we have to just give props to these courageous Democrats who can make a difference in the way governing goes down.
Again, what we're dealing with here really is just about, how you get folks out to the polls. How do you begin to drive them? That's the piece. You look at, when you look at this video here, this is just the drone footage, Mustafa, that we shot today, just to understand, they've been having these type of rallies. And look, these are important. Even though they've been happening in the daytime, they really are important because we've seen an increasing number. We were here yesterday. We landed yesterday morning. John Ossoff did an event with black artists. Pastor Warnock had 2 rallies yesterday, one at a church, one in another part of Metro Atlanta. And so when you see the people turning out, and you see these numbers, when you see the focus and the attention, and when you see the energy, that's what it requires. And they're telling people, you've got to call and text, let everybody know that they got to get out here and vote.
Yeah, without a doubt. Black folks have been building the infrastructure for a decade now in Georgia for this moment, making sure that everything could come together, and even without the resources that were necessary. And luckily now we have resources that are flowing. So now folks are putting all the pieces of the puzzle together. There, as the sheriff's going out the barbershop, salon, and to the real joint, making sure that when somebody's standing outside to get those, that they also get the flyer, or that they get that information that's necessary. Make sure when folks come to the supermarket, also making sure that they're talking to them then. So we understand that we now see see the goal line. We just got to make sure that folks stay focused. And that doesn't mean just folks in Georgia. That means that everyone across this country who's watching this show, if you know somebody in Georgia, reach out. You can make sure that you're making a donation if that's the way that you can give back. You can be a part of the phone banks. You do so many different things. So we don't have to be in Georgia to support folks in Georgia. We just got to listen to what they're asking us to do and then make sure that we get in line and do what they are telling us that will be very helpful and get across the finish line.
And look, Avis, I mean, look, people are still out there raising money, trying to figure out what to do with it. I literally got an email about 20 minutes ago of a group in Texas, and they had raised, $3,500 or $5,000, and they wanted to get it to the Warnock and Ossoff campaigns. And I actually responded and said, don't send to the campaign, directly to third-party groups who are putting people on the ground. And one of the things that they're doing, Avis, and this is really an economic deal as well. What they're doing is they're actually paying people $15 and $18 an hour to actually canvass, because that's one of the deals there. And so when you talk about these campaigns, look, let me just be honest, the white political consultants, the media buyers, they shouldn't be the only who make money off these campaigns. Campaigns are multi-million-dollar operations. Some $463 million going to be spent on advertising in this state. So guess who's smiling? The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the television stations in Atlanta, in Decatur, in Augusta, in Savannah, in Macon. Oh, the TV and radio people. I saw one story where one local station managers said they are plus 200 to 300%. They even projected because of how this state is. And so the money being raised, a group of alphas, they're raising money. They're sending the money directly to third-party groups to pay people directly to get out there and canvass. That's the level of intensity that we're seeing. Here we are days away, and people are putting together 2,500, 3,500, 5,000, 10,000, saying, where can we send it to have some impact?
You hit the nail on the head there, Roland. People really need to understand that elections are big business. Elections are big business. If you sort of blow that out to the presidential election, now we're talking in the billions spent, okay? So it is exactly the truth that there are millions. I think there's definitely over 100 million, at least, that I've heard that's just been raised on the side of the left in this campaign. So the right has probably at least equal that.
No,
so
actually, it was in the last 2 months. Ossoff and Warnock have raised $210 million. Wow. That's just their campaign. That's $210 million raised by the Ossoff and Warnock campaigns. That's not counting groups, third-party groups. That's not counting PACs. You mentioned the Republican side. You've got Republican billionaires like Steve Schwartzman, who's over black. He's given $15 million to Mitch McConnell's PAC. There's a hedge fund guy, Ken Griffin, I think that's his name. He put in some $10 million. The Mitch McConnell PAC is going to put in $60 million in this state.
Wow, I believe it. And so this is why it makes so much sense to make sure that we get money directly in the hands of those black organizations that will make sure it gets down to the people who are actually doing the hard work of getting out door to door, of being able to reach those people where they are, of making sure that the key constituency that will choose the next senators from Georgia, which is the black community, get a piece of that pie, because that labor deserves to be compensated. And under normal circumstances, let's be real, you're exactly right. You have a whole bunch of white consultants who come down here and they make so much money during the election period. They can just coast off of that money for the next couple of years until the next election. Even if they lose, the same people that lose get hired, ironically, again and again and again, just to keep losing. And so it's about time that we get compensated fairly for the work that we're doing. I'm not saying that we're there yet. Well, we definitely deserve to get a huge piece of that pie because we're the ones that are going to bring it home.
Folks, just so again, I'm going to be in Albany tomorrow. Let's go to, if you please, go to my iPad tomorrow. We're going to be for a drive-up rally at the Sand Trap Club and Lounge. Now, y'all know I might as well come there blasting my hole-in-the-wall music if we go into the Sand Trap Club and Lounge. The lot's going to open at 1:30 p.m. The rally is going to be held from 2 to 4 p.m. At 1412 Radium Springs Road, Albany, Georgia. Erica Savage Wilson, of course, a Thursday panelist. She's actually from Albany. We're going to be hitting some other places there. I'll be visiting some folks, trying to get folks out to vote. Again, that's really what our goal is. And then, of course, on Wednesday, Savannah, we're coming back. But first of all, we'll be doing the show tomorrow night from Albany as well. So we're looking forward to that. Savannah, y'all don't worry. I'm going to see y'all on Wednesday. A rally taking place there from 3 to 4:30 in Savannah at Bethel AME Church, 1814 East 38th Street in Savannah, Georgia. That is being sponsored by Senator Lester Jackson and the Freedom Creek Foundation. And so it's all about encouraging our folks to get out to vote. So I'll be the keynote speaker at that event in Albany tomorrow and in Savannah on Wednesday. And going back to Julian, again, not focus just on Metro Atlanta is critical. Being to rally our people in Macon, in Columbus, in Warner Robins, in Albany, in Savannah, in Augusta, these places that are not in Metro Atlanta. Metro Atlanta makes up 60% of the population in this state, but the bottom line is this here. As you said, if it comes down to 1%, that means that if you look at, there are 159 counties, in the state. That if Joe won by less than 12,000, but if you just say 12,000, okay, divided 159 counties, that means that Joe Biden, just use a number, Joe Biden picked up 75 more votes per county than Donald Trump. Now, granted, we know it could have been a big swing, but the bottom line is, out of 159 counties, that comes out to 75 extra votes per county. That's what we mean by every vote matters, Julian.
Precisely. I mean, we look at the big cities, and of course, that man always wants to dismiss what happens in our big cities. But in rural areas, what's his name? Jamie Harrison in South Carolina has something called the Down the Road Pack. He talked about you have to walk down the road to get full participation. And that's what it's going to come down to in Georgia. We know that Metro Atlanta is very likely to mostly go for Biden. But what we don't know is the voter in one of these counties like Macon, who has never had an opportunity to touch a candidate or someone who has supported a candidate. And that person is going to be motivated by that touch. And so that's what we're dealing with. This is the best case, Roland, that we've seen in a very long time of every vote counts. We can't afford to ignore a single vote, to dismiss the fact that this person is rural or white or Latino. We've got to go after every vote. This is, and people say this every time, this is the most important election. But if we look at the victory of Biden, it will not be actualized unless we can capture that in Georgia. And that means literally going after every single vote. And there's a lot of money on the table, as Ava says. I mean, $400+ million in ad buys. These PACs, Mitch McConnell PAC, other PACs. But we've got our PACs too. And what we have that advantages us is the boots on the ground. We have folks like Latasha Brown and others who are not sleeping, who are riding on their buses, who are making sure that people understand what's at stake here. But we can't forget, and I love the fact that people all over the country are sending money to make sure that our people get paid, because we always are the volunteers. But if people are taking time off work, if people are pay folks, at least give them a little stipend so they don't have to sleep, wherever. So, no, we've got to go after every vote.
All right, then, folks. Let's talk about a story that just really took up over the weekend. This suicide bomber, Anthony Quinn Warner, who killed himself in the bomb blast in Nashville that shut down an entire block, has really damaged a significant number of businesses. But what's really strange here is how these white media are describing this. They are afraid to say white domestic terrorists. Now, let's be real clear. If a Muslim had set a bomb in an RV in a major American city, I think Trump might go maybe 1 minute without it. Has he said anything about this bomb? No. It's amazing how they won't call this guy a terrorist. If you blow up an RV in an American city, you are a terrorist. You are a suicide bomber. You are a suicide bomber terrorist. They won't even use the language, Avis.
No, and it's not surprising because we see this every time. White violence is always excused. White violence is always minimized. White violence is always, quote unquote, justified. They want to provide some sort of angelic image of this person who committed this terroristic violent act. And it happens over and over and over again. The reality is the vast majority of individuals who perpetrate domestic violence to the extent of terrorism in this country are white men. And the overwhelming majority of them specifically are white men who align with white supremacist ideology. The vast majority of terroristic attacks that have taken place on this soil have been perpetrated by white men. Yet when these things happen, you see law enforcement, you see the media go out of their way to contort themselves into all sorts of verbal theatrics to get out of calling a thing a thing. That was a terroristic act. That was a terrorist who it seemed was also a Trump supporter, which is probably another reason why you're not going to see Trump say anything about it. He has radicalized millions of people in this country. And if you think that that sort of damage is going to leave with that administration, unfortunately, I think you should have another thing coming.
Mustafa, look, it was certainly scary as all get out. A couple of folks were injured. They cover this terrorist in the rubble. Well, they're still trying to investigate all different angles, assess motive as well. But look, a lot of people are talking about this growing terror of what I have been saying for 11 years, white fear. I have been saying these white folks are losing their mind. They're showing it now. A lot of people are saying that things could really scare after the electors are certified on January 6th, especially if Trump's doing what he's doing.
And everything you've been sharing, everything that Avis just shared, also goes along with what the FBI has been saying. The FBI has been saying that domestic terrorism in the United States of America has continued to increase year after year after year, especially under the Trump administration. Of course, they like to put a different label on it, a different narrative that's surrounded by this. But that's why we got to pay attention to it. Not only pay attention to it, we got to continue to put a spotlight on it and then hold people accountable. So the Department of Justice has to make sure that they're getting engaged. Homeland Security has to make sure that they're getting engaged along with the FBI and making sure that we don't allow these extremist groups or individuals, such as suicide bomber, to be able to find fertile ground. And of course, we know Donald Trump has been feeding into that mindset. And as Ava said, has actually been, playing with people's minds and getting them to do things that maybe they might not have done if they hadn't had this fuel that was placed underneath of them. So we got a lot of work to do. We got to stay very focused on this issue because, as you said, Roland, we got some serious times we're about to go into in 2021. And if we don't keep pushing, if we don't keep holding people accountable, we're going to have more lives that are going to be lost.
Simple as that, Julian. These are white domestic terrorists. FBI said the group we had better be concerned about are these white domestic terrorists. But America not want to call these people what they are.
At all. And yet, remember, I guess a couple of years ago, the FBI talked about black identity extremists. And they put something out there. We were all because black identity extremists because we were black. Well, black folks are not running around doing the stuff that this guy did in Nashville. They don't want to use the word because the word is defining. As Ava said, Jim, they don't want to call a thing a thing. They want to make excuses, just like the little white boy they took to Burger King after he shot up that church in South Carolina. So he had to get something to eat. Now, how many times has a black person who's done anything got himself a Popeye's chicken? Just for the record. All I'm saying is that these folks do not want to deal with reality, which is why it's so important that President-elect Biden picked the right person to lead the Justice Department as Attorney General, why he chooses the right person to be an Assistant Attorney General for civil rights. It's really critical that he get out of this narrow box of Merrick Garland, leave him on the court. He does a good job there, and really talk about someone who's going to really expand the base around these things to have us talk about these things. This is absurdity. Some fool leaves a bomb outside of a building. People, I was watching the other day, people are running out of their homes. People are confiscated. People have their PJs on, and they're told to evacuate right away. What is this? This is the mind manipulation of a warped human being who no one has called on his stuff.
Well, we are paying attention to all of these latest developments. Avis, I know you have to. We certainly appreciate you joining us today on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Thank you so very much. Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk COVID-19. Trump finally signs the bill. Also, what's happening right now, Congress is voting to override Trump's veto of that defense bill because he objected to the renaming of Confederate bases, for military bases, named after other white domestic terrorists known as Confederate leaders. All of that next. Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasting live from Atlanta, Georgia, where we are on the ground covering the Georgia Senate runoff elections. Back in a moment.
Daring to demand the right to vote for Black Americans. In Selma, Alabama, 55 years ago, John Lewis was nearly killed as he and hundreds marched across this bridge. That movement's courage secured the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, but the promise of equal justice in America remains unfulfilled. So together we'll fight for a new Civil Rights Act and a new Voting Rights Act to ensure equal justice for all, no matter the color of our skin, to end racial profiling and police brutality, and to stop anyone from suppressing the sacred right to vote. Congressman Lewis gave me my first job. He instilled in me the conviction to fight for justice. He said to never give in. Never give up. Keep the faith and keep our eyes on the prize. I'm John Ossoff. I approve this message.
Too many people struggled, suffered, and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote.
When you're 22, you absolutely do not expect to be diagnosed with cancer. You know that it can always come back. And that's why I'm supporting Raphael Warnock, because he understands that healthcare is fundamental to people's lives. I'm sick and tired of being represented by people who are actively working to take away my healthcare. Raphael Warnock fights for people. That's what he cares about.
I'm Raphael Warnock, and I approve this message.
We learned early in Sunday school that thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not have no other gods before me. Raphael Warnock's opponent seems to have forgotten these basic Sunday school lessons.
Her gods of greed, her lies about Pastor Warnock, and her shady Wall Street practices are evidence of this. And on January the 5th, let's bear witness that greed, lies, and shady dealings don't represent Georgia. Let's send Raphael Warnock to the U.S. Senate to fight for the least of these and not Wall Street billionaires.
You are leading the way for the rest of this state. And we believe that this state is on the verge of shocking the entire country.
Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. What y'all know about that damn office? And ultimately, we know we can't let nobody turn us around.
if it turns out that the Senate is hinging on one seat and there's only one race left, that's right. This will literally be the epicenter of the entire country, right? So we ready.
Music has an ability to be able to help us feel connected. And that's because music has a way of speaking to the spirit. And it is the spirit we're going to change this country with. It is going to be standing in a space of our power and in the fullness of our spirit of love and the spirit of humanity. That is what's going to transform America.
If your vote didn't matter, you wouldn't have so many people trying so hard to stop you from voting. There is some value there. But even when you talk about that people are not paying attention to your issues, I can't pay attention to your issues if I don't even know you there. And the only reason people are gonna know you there is when you show up to the polls and vote. That's when that power manifests itself. But as long as you staying home, as long as you're making excuses, then guess what? You will always experience these issues that we're experiencing today. And another thing, don't get caught up in the candidates, right? There's no such thing as a perfect candidate, but you should be going to vote for the most important person, and that is you and the one you love. You talk about you'll fight for the one you love. You're willing to die for the one you love. You need to ask yourself, are you willing to vote for the one you love? Because if you don't, there's going to be somebody's neck on yours pretty soon.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Go to my iPad, please. House passes stimulus check boost as Republicans, that is the headline on Politico, a few moments ago by 75 vote margin. 275 people voted. All Democrats voted for the $2,000 checks to American taxpayers. Also, guess what? Republicans crossed the line. Now, the question is, will Mitch McConnell follow the lead? Trump has said 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. He says he cut a deal with the Senate Republicans. Let's actually see. The other thing is this here, Julian and Mustafa. This puts lots of pressure on David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler in this state because the question is, will they vote for it? Mustafa, you first.
Well, I guess we'll see. You know, they have not been strong supporters of anything that's been COVID related. So my expectation of them has never been that high, but continue to go down every day on a basic humanity level. By not doing, by not supporting, you're pretty much, cutting your own throat. And I say it that way, but you really are, because everyone across this country is hurting and folks need relief. And if you're not willing to give folks serious relief, why should give you their vote?
Well, Mustafa, everybody's not
Mitch
hurting.
But Julian, here's the deal. Mitch McConnell is going to be also independent because he's got Republicans in his caucus who do not want to support this. All of a sudden, they care about the deficit. But he also knows it'd be really painful to Loeffler and Perdue if they're going around Georgia. Here you have Loeffler, the richest member of Congress, saying, Americans, y'all good with $100, not $2,000. They're going to have to answer the question, and they're going to have to answer the question, do they even agree with Mitch McConnell and choosing not to bring the bill up? So this could actually hurt them, Georgia.
It absolutely will hurt them. The only challenge the interesting thing, Mustafa said everybody's hurting. No, everybody is not hurting. There are a whole bunch of Americans who are doing quite fine, thank you. The top 45 of Fortune 50 companies have their profits up. So anyone who's holding stock in those companies is making more money. And this is where we see the bifurcation. We see about nearly 1,850,000 people a week filing for new unemployment claims. We see, we've all seen the lines snaking around corners. We've seen this new term, food insecurity, which to me just means hungry. But we've seen this new term being bandied about quite a bit. And so there are those who are hurting, but there are those like little Miss Barbie, I think her name is Kelly, who is doing quite fine. So Mitch McConnell is sitting somewhere between a rock and a hard place. he knows what American people need, but he also knows what his investors, what his wealthy people need. And he has not heretofore been inclined to push anything that was helpful to people that are at the bottom. The bottom now means the bottom 60% means more than half of us. So it's going to be very challenging. And I hope that Warnock and Ossoff make most of it in terms of their messaging and commercials.
Folks, coronavirus is dominating so many different conversations. Of course, we continue to see how it's impacting this country. A bill, though, passed by the Washington, D.C. City Council last week has gotten some folks upset. It would allow children as young as 11 years old to get vaccinations without their parents' consent. The law says that if a doctor determines a minor is capable of informed consent, they will be able to seek government-recommended vaccinations if their parents object to on religious grounds. They could also be vaccinated against the human papillomavirus, which is recommended for older children. Some parents oppose it because the virus is sexually traded and they object to their teenagers having sex. The bill pushed by Councilmember Vince Gray, who was the chair of the Health Committee, was approved 12-1 with a one holdout being Councilor Trayon White. To become law, the bill has to pass a second vote by the City Council and then go to Mayor Muriel Bowser for her signatures. Any concern here at all, Mustafa, with someone as young as 11 years old making the argument against their parents' wishes to get the vaccination? Smart law, bad law?
I think it's a slippery slope. There are some 11-year-olds, probably some 10-year-olds, who are mature. But majority are still developing. Someone to supersede, a parent and make decisions for that. And then because I've worked with many folks in the public health and the medical world, I know how big they are. I don't know if they spend enough time with a child, and I want to reinforce that with a child. I actually know where that child is sort of in the developmental process. So I have some real concerns about this. I want everyone to be protected, whether it's from sexually transmitted diseases, whether it's from COVID or whatever it may be. But, I think there's a lot that needs to go into this and make sure there's some other stopgaps that are there to make sure that parents have the opportunity to fully participate in the process.
Julian, good law or bad law?
Bad law. First of all, with the COVID, we have not had enough testing of people. I think the professor says over 16. I may have it wrong in the Moderna, over 18. So if you're going to let an 11-year-old choose to take a vaccine that has not been tested on their age group, very, very bad law. With the human papilloma, I have a different feeling. But I also think parents need to be essentially consulted. I love Vince Gray. His heart on public health is in the right place, but I think this is a law that goes in the wrong direction.
All right, folks, let's talk about this story here in Vermont, where Black residents make up only 1.4% of the population. Initiative to recognize local history makers from the region has led to the creation of a bust to honor Martin Henry Freeman, the first Black president of the college in the United States. A sculpture in Freeman's likeness has been installed in downtown Rutland. He was born in Rutland in 1826 and went on to become the president of the All-Black Allegheny Institute and Mission Church in 1856. The school is now known as Avery College. Certainly, that's a big deal there. So, congratulations to all the folks there. All right, folks. A Prince William County Sheriff Deputy in Virginia was fired during the holiday for posting disturbing comments on a conservative social media site. Prince William Sheriff Glendale Hill launched an investigation into Deputy Aaron Hoffman's post Christmas morning. Hill found some of the comments posted under Hoffman's account advocating for violence, including violence against Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, allowing the dismissal of a case seeking to overturn the results of the presidential election. Hoppins claims he did not post these threatening messages to social media and that his account was hacked. I'm not really buying the hacked argument, Julian. I'm kind of not buying that one.
I don't think of us are, Roland. I mean, I think that this is the excuse when you busted doing something. Then you're a officer, a law enforcement officer, even a justice of the Supreme Court, very, very troublesome. This is the kind of mess that has been unleashed by that man. So you have someone putting bombs in vans in Nashville. You have a sheriff. I can't even say it enough times. A sheriff threatening the Supreme Court Chief Justice. When Roberts is hardly, H-rap radical, he is kind of juggling. So no, I'm not buying, and he need to be fired, and probably that's the nicest thing that could happen.
Folks, speaking of firing, today, Columbus, Ohio, the officer who shot and killed Andre Hill, the brother in Columbus, has been fired. If you go to my iPad, please, this is the headline right here on the Columbus Post-Dispatch website. Safety director fires officer who shot Andre Hill, calls a force unreasonable. At the mayor on last week, he was very angry with what took place here. Also angry, this cop also did not have his body cam footage on. It has been shocking and stunning to look at that video of Andre Hill. 1:30 in the morning, the cops get a call. They say they're hearing this noise in this garage. He's in his garage. Cops come on the scene. He walks out, and he's literally carrying a cell phone. Shots are immediately fired. He is killed. Ben Crump actually tweeted out today. Let me pull this up. He tweeted out that there was been an autopsy has been performed on him, and he said right here the tweet says, coroner confirms Andre Hill was shot multiple times and his cause was homicide. That's obviously important, that medical examiner's determination.
Well, what else would it be but homicide? Man was on his own property, in his own garage, working on a car, whatever, and then you have folks come in and shoot you. The reality of the situation is that if you or I or any of the viewers here today shoot somebody, that there are repercussions for that action. Police have to be held to the exact same level of accountability that everyday folks are. And until we get to that, until police unions are willing to also do the right thing, we're going to continue to have these types of egregious behaviors that continue to happen, and we're going to continue to have this genocide that continues to happen to Black and brown people across our country.
It also, Julian, it's really important, I think, here, the reaction from here. Because from the jump, he expressed outrage at the shooting and called for this officer to be fired. Typically what happens is you got elected officials who run for cover, making excuses for officers so they don't piss off the police union.
Well, there's an increasing amount of egregiousness in what's happened to many unarmed Black people, especially Black men, and the police union's protection of any kind of crime. And so I think the mayor's reaction was right on time. But I think that what this really calls for is an examination of what these police unions stand for, why they protect people who do not deserve protection, why they ignore people who do deserve protection, and how some of these, I'm a labor economist, so I believe in unions and all of that, but you cannot have unions hold people to unreasonable standards. You shoot somebody and you get a pass? No. Heck to the no, to the no, to the no. And so I think that the bigger question, and which is why I'm so interested in what President-elect Biden will do with justice, the bigger question is, how can we hold these police unions accountable? Not just the officers, but also the unions who will basically defend anybody, anything.
Yep. Let's talk about in South Carolina, where 71-year-old Jethro Devane is suing the city of Rock Hill after he says police ordered him out of his home and held him at gunpoint, was naked. In 2019, Devane said he was sleeping when he saw officers shining light through his window. The 71-year-old got up and opened the back door to the officers were searching for 4 juveniles. When they saw Devane's door was open, they aggressively ordered him out of his home. In body cam footage, you can see an officer order Devane out of his home and hold him at gunpoint for 90 seconds. Devane is suing Rock Hill for gross negligence, civil assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional stress, and outrage, false imprisonment, abusive process, civil conspiracy, and state constitutional violations. He's also demanding a formal apology from Rock Hill Mayor John Geddes. Mustafa?
Sue them. He should continue to sue them for everything that they're worth. You know, you got an elder who's there. And if you know that elder was not involved with the 4 young people who they said was going on, that's neither here nor there. They continue to do these types of things that are inhumane at a minimum. So I say that he should continue to make sure. And here's the other thing that I want the viewers also know about this case, is that they actually, when this was brought to their attention, they decided to drop it. And then they also had one of the police chiefs or someone who had a conversation with him and said that he had to stop sleeping in the nude. That's the level of seriousness that they put on this gentleman's life and the situation that he had to go through. So sometimes the only way you can get folks to get some do right is by actually hitting them in the pockets. The problem with that is that lots of times that comes from taxpayer dollars instead of the folks who are doing these infractions and these dehumanizing types of actions against Black folks. So I'm all for it. I hope he gets every dime that he's entitled to. If he wants the apology, that's great. He has every right to ask for that. But hit them in the pockets until they actually do the right thing.
Julian, just like the woman in Chicago, just like the woman in Chicago busted into her apartment in 2018. I don't often see white women butt naked being held at gunpoint by cops. It's just very interesting how it's consistently Black.
It's the dehumanization of Black people. It's the re-enslavement of Black people. It's why we have a slogan that says Black Lives Matter. No matter what happened, it would not have taken one of those officers a minute to go and give the man a robe. So this was about dehumanization. Go get his robe. I mean, if you really thought there was something wrong, just go and so the comment that he shouldn't sleep in the nude is specious. Probably a third of all Americans sleep in the nude at some point or another. I don't have any statistics on that. I'm just guessing. But in any case, Mustafa is right. Sue him till it hurts. But it doesn't hurt the individual unless they have some culpability. So if the city has to pay, let's say, I don't know, whatever, make the offending officer, pay 1 or 2% of it. So the city has to pay $50,000, and the officer pay $5,000 of it. If you hit that officer in his pocket, he or she will understand that this is just unacceptable. And then the whole notion of the apology, people have apologized for slavery. They didn't do anything. There are no reparations. But the first thing that should have come out of that mayor's mouth was, we apologize for the inappropriateness of this. That should have been the first thing out of their mouth. But again, Black lives don't matter. As you say, Roland, you would not see a white woman or, a white man being paraded around nude. And so why does it happen to Black people? Because we were paraded around nude before. We were paraded around nude on auction blocks. And some people want to take us back there. And that's why it matters.
All right, folks, go to a break. We'll be back in just a moment on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
This is Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant. Your vote matters. It's coming down to the finish, and this will be every vote counts. And so I'm charging every person in Georgia, make sure you vote, because it'll be your vote that'll send 2 senators to Washington, D.C.
Georgia, I know things are tough right now, but I want you to know help is on the way. My administration is preparing to beat COVID-19 and get economic relief to the American people. On day 1 as your president, I'm prepared to sign a COVID relief package that fully funds the public health response needed, led by Georgia's own CDC. It will ensure free testing and vaccination for every American, and will get small businesses the assistance they need right now. Let me be clear, I need Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff in the United States Senate to get this done. There are folks in Congress threatening to do everything in their power to block our efforts. We need you to get out there and vote for Jon Ossoff as well as Raphael Warnock. We need them in the Senate. God bless America and may God protect our troops.
I'm Raphael Warnock.
And I'm Jon Ossoff.
And we approve this message.
We got power. We're about to get ready to launch our We Got Power tour.
Cliff and I are going on the blackest bus in America. We're hitting the streets again.
We're going to be going through at least 12 states, maybe more. I'm just really excited.
Now, it's a little bit different this time because COVID-19, we've got to wear masks, we've got to be socially distanced, but we are very committed that we've got to get in the streets and inspire and encourage our people in ways that are socially distant.
Ready to hit the road, ready to see our folks, ready to be socially distant, ready to mask up.
On our way to Pennsylvania, we'll be there for 2 days, and then we're headed to Ohio to Cleveland.
We're going to be just spreading a lot of love and building a lot of power.
The very last day, we're going to be out here on the ground in these streets because our people need us. Can't stop, won't stop.
Register to vote. You can even request your online vote by mail ballot by clicking the link or by scanning our QR code with your camera. Vote early. Vote today, because we got power.
I'm Chrisette Michelle. Hi, I'm Chaley Rose, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
A few hours ago, President-elect Joe Biden gave a speech talking about the importance of foreign policy. Here's what he had to say earlier today.
Before I begin, I want to say a few brief words about the explosion that took place Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. Federal, state, and local law enforcement working around the clock to gain more information on motive and intent. This bombing was a reminder of the destructive power that an individual or a small group can muster and the need for continuing vigilance across the board. I want to thank the police department in Nashville, particularly those 5 police officers who worked so quickly to evacuate the area before the explosion occurred, risking their own lives. And for all the firefighters and first responders who jumped into action early on that last Christmas morning. Their bravery and cool-headedness likely saved lives and prevented a worse outcome, and we are eternally grateful to that law enforcement agency. And I know the hearts of all Americans are the people of Nashville as they rebuild and recover from this traumatic event. Now, Vice President Harris and I, along with our nominees to lead the national security institutions, have just been briefed by some of the professionals who have been conducting agency reviews as a part of our transition. This is a long-standing part of the orderly transition of power in American democracy. We welcomed teams from the incoming Trump-Pence administration 4 years ago, gave them access to all that we had. And over the past few weeks, teams of genuine policy and management experts, many of them pre-government experience, who have gone into agencies across the government to conduct interviews with personnel, to gather information, and to assess the state of the federal government, that we will shortly inherit. These teams worked under incredibly difficult circumstances, taking COVID-19 precautions and waiting weeks for the ascertainment, meaning that so they could go in and be cleared to go in. But they have done an outstanding job. For some agencies, our teams received exemplary cooperation from the career staff in those agencies. From others, most notably the Department of Defense, we encountered obstruction from the political leadership of that department. And the truth is, many of the agencies that are critical to our security have incurred enormous damage. Many of them have been hollowed out in personnel, capacity, and in morale, in the policy processes that have atrophied or have been sidelined, in the despair of our alliances and the disrepair of those alliances, in our absence from key institutions that matter to the welfare of the American people, in the general disengagement from the world. And all of it makes it harder for our government to protect the American people, to defend our vital interests in a world where threats are constantly evolving and our adversaries are constantly adapting. Rebuilding the full set of our instruments of foreign policy and national security is a key challenge that the Vice President-elect Harris and I will face upon taking office, starting with our diplomacy. Today, we heard from the leaders of the state and USAID agency review teams about the critical early investment we're going to need to make in our diplomacy, in our development efforts, and in rebuilding our alliances, to close the ranks with our partners and bring to bear the full benefits of our shared strength for the American people. When we consider the most daunting threats of our time, we know that meeting them requires American engagement and American leadership, but also that none of them can be solved by America acting alone. Take climate change, for example. The United States accounts for less than 15% of the global carbon emissions. But without clear, coordinated, and committed approach from the other 85% of the carbon emitters, the world will continue to warm. Storms will continue to worsen. Climate change will continue to threaten the lives and livelihood, and public health and economics of our existence and literally, the very existence of our planet. We've learned so painfully this year the cost of being unprepared for a pandemic that leaps borders and circles the globe. If we aren't investing with our partners around the world to strengthen the health systems everywhere, we're undermining our ability to permanently defeat COVID-19, and we're leaving ourselves vulnerable to the next deadly epidemic. And as we compete with China, the whole China.
All right, folks, I want to dip out of that. I want to go to Julian. First of all, Julian, it'd be great to have a person who occupies the White House who actually knows how to complete an actual sentence. There are some significant foreign policy issues that we're going to have to deal with. One of the things that Joe Biden has said is that he is going to immediately enroll into the Paris Climate Accord. But also, it is going to take a whole lot to actually, and I expect his Secretary of State, I expect for President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, a whole lot of work also restoring trust in the word of America to foreigners across the globe.
Our international reputation has deteriorated. We have lied. We have withdrawn, reneged on deals. Paris Climate Agreement is just one of many. Withdrawing from the World Health Organization. There's so many things that have been done that the Biden-Harris administration has just a yeoman's amount of work to do to just get us back to where we were in 2016. Not to mention that the world has changed. So getting back to 2016 doesn't do anything about the changes that have taken place in the past 4 years. The climate change issue is a huge issue, especially for our young people, but frankly for all of us. And we see it in terms of weather every day. But there's so many other issues where 45 had just ignored, just came in with a wrecking ball, literally with a wrecking ball, and ignored any kind of international protocol. And so it's going to be challenging for Biden and Harris to restore that. But I believe they're equal to the job. And I believe that, as you heard Biden talking about, literally the way that people have been let go in the international agencies, reduction of the budget of USAID. There's so many things that were done essentially because we want to make America great again. Well, America cannot be great unless the world is great, unless we play nice ball with the rest of the world. And he was just not interested in doing that. It's going to be a hard job, but it's a doable job.
To that point about the Paris Accord, Mustafa, that is obviously near and dear to you. That's going to be really important because America has no choice but to lead when it comes to of climate over the next 4 years with Biden and Harris. I suspect that is going to be a significant part of their focus in terms of the mission.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that on day one that they will make moves right there because the baseline, really, that's the basics that you got to have in place. You know, we're the only country on the planet who decided not to be a part of the Paris Climate Accord. But of course, we understand going back to where we are or were is not enough because, you know, the IPCC and the National Climate Assessment, what it is the top scientists around the world have told us that we're literally running out of time. And what you'll see is, you know, this COVID-19 pandemic, there will be other pandemics that will be associated with, you know, the changes that are going to happen because of temperatures increase and movement of people and species and all these other type things that will, you know, move in that. And, you know, President-elect Biden and President-elect Vice President Kamala Harris have a huge job in front of them, both on international and domestic. You got 2 million federal employees. You got 439, I believe, is agencies and sub-agencies and departments that all play into not just climate change, but also our economy and the international accords that are there. So all of that comes together that they have to be able to get their arms around. I just want to remind viewers again that the Trump administration has delayed and delayed and delayed those briefings and the critical sets of conversations that help people to get prepared for this huge job that they have over the next 4 years, hopefully 8.
Well, it just goes to show you deal with people who have no integrity whatsoever when they don't even want to don't want to have a proposition because they don't believe they lost. And that's one of the things that you're actually seeing. You're going to see lots of mayhem created, and that's what you're going to see. And so I think we're going to get a lot of that. And the line is, I mean, we're dealing with petty people, immature people. That's what we're dealing with right here, Julia.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at what happened with the COVID relief, there was nothing this man gained by failing to sign a piece of legislation that his designees basically negotiated with both Pelosi, with both sides. There was nothing for him to gain except for to get attention. I'm still the president, y'all. You know, y'all are going to have to bow on me. And you saw people on both sides of the aisle literally begging him, please sign this. And he waited till the very last minute. Some people are going to lose at least a week of unemployment benefits. But this is all about him. And this has been all about him since he was sworn in January of 2017. But the fact that he lost, which is just so, he can't stand it. And because he can't stand it, he's taking it out on the American people. The fact that he won't sign the military bill. I mean, they're not petty, Roland, is a very kind word for them. These people are destructive. They basically are salting the earth so that the Biden-Harris administration will have to come in and do cleanup from day one.
Yep, that's exactly what you see going on. All right, folks. Y'all know what time it is.
No charcoal grills are allowed.
I'm white. I got you, Carl.
Yeah, illegally selling water without a permit
On my property.
Whoa! Hey!
Give us your right.
You don't live here.
I'm uncomfortable.
I have consistently said on this show, it's really not wise of people whose skin has not been touched by nature's sun to use the N-word to somebody who's black. You really shouldn't do that if you're also drunk. And the brother you're talking to is really big. So when I saw this video, I had no choice. I don't advocate violence, but I have no problem with hashtag Team Whip That Ass showing up in this video.
Fuck my mama, fuck your mama, nigga. Fuck your mama. You know what I'm saying?
pop him.
I live on 400 Oxford Avenue, 2 blocks away. And you know what's crazy? I'm gonna walk to you. I'm gonna walk right to my house for you, bro. Oh, God, I'm not trying to disrespect you, bro. I'm not. I'm going to say nigga all day, every day. Are you kidding me? Where you from, nigga? Where you from? Where you from? Where the fuck you from? Here, nigga. You from here? Get the fuck out of here. You a clown, nigga. Oh, God, you a clown, nigga. You from here? You a clown. What, you gonna smack me with that? Smack me with it. Smack me. Smack me, nigga. Come on, yeah. Drop it.
Ooh. Yeah, you got yours, buddy.
Call me another fucking nigga. I don't give a fuck.
Hey, man, you learned this lesson, man. Ain't no reason to be.
Call me another nigga.
Ain't no reason to find him out.
Call me another fucking nigga.
Okay, okay, okay,
Okay.
good.
Good?
You're good.
You good now?
You're good.
I asked you not to call me a nigga.
I don't blame you, dude.
You're good.
Hey, I can do what I want.
I had no problem with the outcome of that video, Julian.
Me neither. I mean, I won't say I don't advocate violence, but that was extremely appropriate violence. He should just hit him a few more times for the rest of us. That was the craziest thing I've seen, Roland, in a long time. What is wrong with these people? Do they truly think nobody is going to respond to their nonsense and their silliness? And I mean, he kept escalating. But that's what these people do. And they were told by their president.
All I know is this here, Mustafa. The sound of a can smashing up against the flesh of a face elicits a rather loud noise.
It reminds me of November 22nd, 1986. Tyson versus Brett. And when he just knocked him the hell out in that ring. You know, sometimes you just got to give some people some act right. You know, for folks, some alcohol, some liquor in them. Sometimes they think they got superpowers. Sometimes you got to help them remind them that, you know, we got our own kryptonite for racism and these types of actions where you think you can say and do anything to us. There it is.
Yeah, you got yours, buddy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know. I don't know what these folk be thinking. I don't know. Matter of fact, I don't think some of them actually be thinking at all. But you know what? I mean, if you stupid enough to stand there and do that and to the brother's face, well, guess what? You stupid enough to stand there and get your ass whooped. And so that's what happened right there. So that is our craziest white people video of the day. All right, folks. We were out at the rally today, and I do this all the time because I just want to give y'all an understanding of what we do, the type of work that we do. And why your support matters. And so a little bit earlier, we played the John Ossoff, Raphael Warnock video. You also saw me playing this drone video. We were showing you when we live stream these rallies, we incorporate these drone shots actually into our coverage. And so I do this because I like to show our supporters what their dollars go to. Henry, go to my iPad. So this is the video right here, folks, of a setup that we had out there today at New Birth. And what you see there, you'll see me flying the drone there. You'll see all of our equipment out there. When we go on the scene here, we are literally with multiple cameras there. We have all of our gear. We have all these different things here. And our whole goal is to give you a much better production value for what we do. That's why when we talk about supporting us with Roland Martin Unfiltered, that's what we're talking about. And so when you support us being able to give you a high quality product that is same as, you know, and better than a lot of other places. And so that's why it's important. Those of you who want to support what we do here at Roland Martin Unfiltered, you can join our Bring the Funk fan club by going to Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal.me is /R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo.com is RM Unfiltered. You can support us via Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. You also have some people who want to support us via Square who don't want to use any of these platforms, but they want to use a credit card. Just go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com to use Square as well. We certainly appreciate that. You can also send us a money order to New Vision Media, New Vision Media, Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006. And so we have been, like I say, here in Atlanta, Georgia, on the ground. Yesterday, folks, literally, we landed yesterday. They had the John Ossoff event yesterday where he was actually joining some black artists who were painting signs and murals as well. That was one of the things that they were doing yesterday. That was one of the events we live streamed. Pastor Raphael Warnock, as I said, he held two events yesterday as well. And so we had the opportunity to live stream that. And so the technology that we're using, we're doing what, frankly, other black media is not doing. And that is remaining on the cutting edge, giving you the kind of content that you're not necessarily going to see elsewhere, because we believe it's important for us to control our voice, to control our destiny, for us to be able to control the narrative. And so that's why we do what we do. As I said yesterday, Ossoff had this particular event, these various black artists. This here, folks, this video you're seeing right here, is some of the work that we did, shot yesterday. One of our freelancers here in Atlanta shot yesterday. And that's why we're here. We're not here just to sit here and just say, hey, we're here sitting in a house. No, we're out there on the ground. So we covered 3 events yesterday. We had 2 events today. As I said, tomorrow I am going to be in Albany, Georgia, on the ground there. Doors, lot opens at 1:30. We're going to have a rally from 2 to 4. I'm going to be getting there early. Going to be visiting places in Albany, Georgia. We're going to be hearing from some of those voters, and we're looking forward to that. Hearing from them. We're going to be in Savannah, Georgia on Wednesday. And so that's why we do what we do. But your support absolutely matters. We are around 16,000 people who are members of our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal that we set by December 31st is to have 20,000 fan club members. You can join right now. Your dollars go to support this show. Your dollars go to support what we do every single day to bring you the kind of news that's important. We were going to talk about the video, the young black man who was accosted by a white woman over the iPhone. The father confirmed with us to be on the show today, but we had some issues, and so hopefully we'll have him on the show tomorrow. So I'm going to have that video for you. I promise that video, but we are going to have that video and that conversation with Keon tomorrow. Keon is a trumpeter with Maxwell, and so we hope to have him on the show tomorrow. But this is why we do what we do, the ability to be able to speak truth to power, and for us to, as a black-owned media company, to be able to cover the issues that matter to you. And so please stand with us. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Again, Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal.me is /R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo.com is Venmo.com /RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. You can, of course, use Square at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can also send us a money order, New Vision Media, Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006. You watch the show here. If you want to listen to the audio podcast of this show, simply go to the iHeartRadio app, download the Roland Martin Unfiltered podcast. We will greatly appreciate that as well. Folks, I've got to go. I will see you guys tomorrow from Albany, Georgia, as we continue the countdown to January 5th, and that is the Senate runoff here in Georgia. John Ossoff versus Senator Kelly Loeffler. John Ossoff versus Senator David Perdue. Pastor Raphael Warnock versus Senator Kelly Loeffler. And we'll have more of that tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Y'all take care. Holla!